Welcome, everyone, to Global Consortium of Entrepreneurship Centers Virtual Connection Series. Today's session is going to focus on entrepreneurship education for veterans. We've got some great panelists, which I will introduce in just a moment. But first, just a brief intro for those who may not be familiar with GCEC. We are a global organization of entrepreneurship center directors, and we get together at an annual conference, which this year will be in Las Vegas in October. And but we also get together these virtual seminars once a month. We have newsletter, awards programs, all kinds of ways to learn best practices and really get to know other people in our industry. I've often found that the people that I meet at GCEC understand my job better than the people whose office is right next to mine on my campus. So it's a great community, and we're welcome everyone here. Again, the conference coming up this fall in person in Las Vegas at the end of October. We really thank our friends at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas for putting together a lot of work. And the call is going to be going out soon for anybody in our community who wants to be a part of the conference, presenting something that they have done that might be useful for others to learn about. So keep your eyes open for that. And you can go ahead and register for the conference now if you want to. You can see the web address there. All right. Today's session, we have three amazing entrepreneurship leaders. They're each going to tell you a little bit about their program. We'll have a little bit of Q&A with each one, and then we'll have an open discussion towards the end where they can all talk to each other. We encourage anyone in our audience to post questions at any time you want through the chat function. We hope we have an active chat here, so feel free to use that to tell us about what you're doing or ask questions of our panelists. And I'll just tell you a little bit about each of the people we have here. We have Misty Stutzman-Fox, who, as you can see here, is the director of the small business portfolio at Syracuse University, Al Danto at Rice University, and Sandy Cordell from University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. So with that, I'm now going to turn over to Misty from Syracuse. So Misty, tell us about the work you do serving veterans.
Sure. And I'm going to just share my screen real quick for y'all. So now I have to ask the proverbial, does everyone see what they're supposed to at this point? I hope so.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, I see a lot of familiar faces on here. So hi to a lot of the consortium schools that joined. My name is Misty Stutzman-Fox. I am the Director of Entrepreneurship and Small Business at Syracuse University, where I've been for the past 7 years. But previous to that, I was actually at Oklahoma State University, where I was a program manager for several of their programs. I don't have just a program. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the Institute is and how it relates to SU. So the Institute is something that came together in 2011 after a summer project by our executive director and founder, Mike Haney. We started with Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for veterans, and it has grown up quite a bit. To give you an idea, we have 4 pillars, which you can see here. We have career training, entrepreneurship, community services, and research and analytics. Data drives everything that we do. To date, the Institute has actually served 176,000 veterans and military-connected individuals. We serve about 25,000 a year through entrepreneurship. That's about a $10,000 or 10,000 person program. So for us, as I mentioned, it's not just one program. We actually have 11 national and international programs that we run for military-connected individuals. So if you take nothing away from the rest of this presentation, just know that if you're working with a Guard, reservist, veteran, active duty, military spouse, or caregiver who wants to start or grow a small business or even think about it, we have a program for that. In addition, we work with several other universities across the nation, to include 8 universities and 6 community colleges that we're adding to every day to create more programming. The way we break our portfolio down is we actually have 3 sort of phases: ideation, startup, and grow. From there, we also have 3 resource hubs that we use. I'm going to just highlight a few of those because I have 5 minutes and I'd rather be brief and brilliant and allow for questions. But in our ideation portfolio, many of y'all I see in SBDC and UTA on here are very familiar with Boots to Business. This is a program that's actually ran and developed for the SBA. The IVMF created this program in partnership with the SBA years ago. And now to date, we host about 200 workshops, 2-day workshops overseas a year. So we're on 35 different bases in 9 different countries to really help those transitioning service members and their spouses think about if entrepreneurship is the right place for them and what are those continuing resources from there. We also have an online program called Spark where anyone can take. It's 6 weeks online. We use professors from across the country to really deliver that high level programming for folks that are just thinking about dipping their toe in. And then I think our most exciting program, or most entrepreneurial at this point, is our Strive program, where we've partnered with 6 community colleges across the nation, and we're actually growing that. It's a partnership that we have with NACCE as well, where these community colleges can use the IVMF backbone, but deliver 6 weeks of programming within their communities. All of these programs and all of our graduates actually get access to what I think is the most important part, and that's our post-program support. Our post-program support, we have over 41 different post-program support partners to include lawyers, CPAs, sales trainers, website developers, social media developers, et cetera, that do about $1 million in pro bono services a year for our graduates. In those services, they also have access to ProQuest, Mintel, all of those databases that you have on campus. Our veterans can get access to. And through that, we do about $100,000 in reports a month for these veterans. So that's an exciting part too. In our startup program, we have 2 of our longest running programs, which is EBV and VY. So EBV is a program that's ran on campuses across the nation where it's 3 phases. Veterans actually get the opportunity to fly to one of those for a week and with all expenses paid to really focus on their business. And then, of course, our VY's program for women that goes all over the country. We're just in Nashville with 200 women, and then we'll move to Chicago next. And the last part, in the interest of time, because I know I only have a couple minutes left, we have our Grow. Our largest program that we run is called Veteran Edge. That program is for 450 veteran-owned businesses. Every year we gather in Dallas and recognize those companies that are really looking to grow their business. We give away over $120,000 in grants each year there. But we also recognize the Vet 100, which is the 100 fastest growing veteran-owned businesses in the nation, a partnership that we have with Inc. To tell you a little bit about the success rates of these, 65% of EBV graduates will start a business, 92% are still in business. Last year alone, those graduates did nearly $500 billion in revenue, which is $1 million in revenue. We also have VYs, which has a 72% startup rate coming out of that program. Our average revenue for Veteran Edge grad is $24.5 million. So it's exciting to see that growth. I just want to highlight a few things that we have here as well. These are some of the consortium schools that we work with us. So it's not just Syracuse University doing it alone. We work very closely with several other organizations to develop and lead programming there. So I know that's brief and brilliant. I had 5 minutes and I took 4 minutes and 45 seconds. So I'm going to allow questions at this point. But if you have questions or you want to connect later on, please reach out to me and we can talk through everything.
Awesome. Thanks, Misty. Maybe in a couple of minutes, you can put your contact info in the chat when you have a moment. But it's what you just described is pretty big deal, right? Like that is huge. You know, you've got programs that support, I don't even know how to describe it, right? So if I'm a University Entrepreneur Center director and I'm thinking about working with veterans, you know, it sounds like you're one of the right people to talk to. Like, how do you?
Yeah, we host those conversations constantly. So, you know, I just had a great conversation with the school in the South yesterday. We're inviting, I think, 3 different schools from actually GCEC to come up and see our EBV in July. We're an open resource. So if you're thinking about starting, if you want to know what's going on in your area, I'll also share the VStart tool, because we've created a lot of data analytics that you can look at, a lot of research that you can look at, but also, you know, more than happy to share our programming tips, tricks, best practices, et cetera.
And you mentioned this earlier, that if anybody that works with veterans or with the military in general, had just better get used to the acronyms. Right? You just flew through a bunch, like the EVB and the VEB and all that.
Yeah, VY, ZBV, Ignite, all those things. So it's, I mean, you know, anyone that's getting used to the military, you just have to write down your own little guide as it comes through it. You know, I can't say that what we did build well was branding. We probably need some help in that, as we're like the Johnson & Johnson of programming at this point with all the different brands that fall underneath us. But the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp for Veterans is the longest running program. It's been running for 14 years. And VYs is now 11 years old. So we're actually about to host our 25th VYs in Chicago.
Awesome. All right. And what would you say is kind of like what advice would you give to a center director who is thinking about working with veterans? Like, what should be some of the first things they think about?
I think the first thing to do is understand who's already out there and what's already going on. There's 40,000 VSOs in the nation, and quite frankly, I think that it can make that navigation of resources hard. We know the top 3 challenges are actually navigation of resources, social connections, as well as capital readiness. I don't like to say access, because if you're ready, you can access. So we know that those are challenges. So I think that, reaching out to IVMF or other organizations to kind of understand what the myths and the data and that connectivity is crucial, especially now with our Community Navigator grant, which we've been able to add 17 spokes to help folks navigate through all of that. But that's kind of would be my suggestion, is really understand what's going on and really understand where you can fit to kind of solve that certain issue and be at your first best use.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll come back to you, Misty, with some more questions in a little bit. Next, I'm going to invite up Sandy from the University of Tennessee in Chattanooga. So Sandy Cordell, you are on stage.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. And thank you for having me be part of this today. So I'll give a quick, let's share my screen. I have a longer presentation, but I was told to limit it to 3 or 4 slides. So that is what I'm going to do. All right. Can you all see that?
Yes, we can.
We can. Okay, great. So a quick rundown. So the Veterans Entrepreneurship Program, which of course we call VEP, we love our acronyms. It is a 3-phase program that we have here. We are part of a consortium. I see that Chad Mills from Oklahoma State is on. Hi, Chad. So we have Oklahoma State University and then the University of Florida. We all 3 of us run this program. We run it at different times of the year. So if there's veterans who can't participate perhaps in our summer program, they have 2 other opportunities that they can try and get in the program. So the 3 phases, the first phase, we have 5 weeks online. During this portion, the veterans, we help them think through their concept, or if they have a startup, we help them think about the relevant issues for their business. We do a self-assessment to help them identify their strengths and weaknesses so we can help them work on those weaknesses and get better at those. And we also have, we help them think about their financial resources, because most likely they're going to have to get funding from a bank at some point. So we have to focus on that and make sure they understand the importance of the finances. We try to connect them to their local resources. This is a national program, so we recruit from across the country. So we want to make sure that they're getting the help that they need from the cities where they're located. Once they finish those 5 weeks, we bring them to UTC campus in Chattanooga for an 8-day, what we call boot camp. And this boot camp is very intensive. We go 14, 16 hours a day. We're in class learning everything, all the nuts and bolts of business ownership. So it's going to cover, accounting, bootstrapping your business. We cover everything. You're also networking with our faculty and our local business professionals. And then of course we have some fun in there, all the meals are, I should back up a little bit. So this program is completely free to the veterans. We do take applications. We accept 20 every year, and they don't pay for anything. We cover all of the academic piece. We put them up in a hotel for the entire week of boot camp. We cover that. We cover all their meals, their transportation, whether they're flying or driving. They don't pay a dime. They don't use any of their VE benefits. This is a separate program, so they can keep all of that for school if they want to later down the road. Like I said, the boot camp is very intensive, but it's a lot of fun. And at the end of the week, we do have a pitch competition. And we're excited that this year, this is our 10th year. I've been with the program since it started in 2012. And we have partnered with someone this year where one of our winners is going to win a $15,000 grant for their business. And we're super excited about that this year. Once they finish boot camp, then the 3rd phase is simply ongoing advising and support. We advertise this as 5 months, but it really never stops. And I'm sure Chad at OSU probably can contest this as well. We're always a resource for them. We still help people from our inaugural class. So that never stops. Let me go back over here. oops, went too far. As far as the program eligibility, the main thing is they have to be separated from active duty, or if they're in the reserves, they must have served and have been honorably discharged from that service. We take people who have either a business concept, it needs to be pretty well defined, or a startup that's less than 3 years old. While they don't need a business plan, we do like them to have the beginnings of that plan, so we can help them even further with that. As you can see, we do give preference to veterans who have service-connected disabilities or personnel declarations, and you can see the ones that are listed on there. A couple slides that show some of our statistics as of today, the number of graduates, the businesses launched, and you can see the total revenue to date is over 120 million, which is amazing. And then those are just a couple of our success stories. I'm not going to read through that, but we have some, I mean, pretty amazing stories that have come, and a lot of success that have come from this program. As a veteran myself, it's wonderful to see these veterans come through this program and just excel. You know, they have the leadership ability. We don't have to teach them that. We just need to teach them, you know, how to use those most effectively for their business. And I think that's it. I didn't time myself. Misty, you did a good job timing yourself. I didn't. I just kind of started talking. So I think I'm within my 5 minutes though.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. Okay. I have just a couple of questions. So impressive work that you're doing. Is this connected to what Misty described? You mentioned a consortium of schools. Are there two different groups here, just to help people understand, like VEP versus IVMF, or what exactly are we talking about here?
Yeah, go ahead, Misty.
There are two. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So VEP and EBV, very similar models, very, very similar models. But there are two consortiums. That said, though, we're all recipients of the SDVTP grant from the SBA. Chad and I talk all this. So it's a tangentially attached consortium.
Okay, so that was another question I had, and I'll get a chance to talk about this too, is where does the funding come from, right? And it sounds like a lot of it, you just said the SBA is a big funder, is that right?
That is one, yes, that I know we are all a part of. And then I think individually, each school has their own resources. I know we have individual donors that give money, and then we have people that, you know, will donate a lunch or a dinner or their time, right? That's a big one too. So that's part of it. So we share like the SBA grant, but then we have, you know, individual sponsors. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Excellent. Another question for you, Sandy, is what advice do you have for somebody at another school who's thinking about starting a program similar to yours?
You gotta, I think for us, you gotta have the passion, right? We are very passionate about helping veterans. It's not just another program, at least not to me. I can see Chad nodding his head as well. And if you show the passion for them, and you have to be willing to help them, it's about the veterans. And I kind of have this discussion a lot with some people who kind of come in and want to help, and it's not about them, it's not about the donors, it's about the veterans and helping the veterans achieve their goals. And because we hope that they start businesses and maybe they'll hire more veterans. So I love this program. It's a big passion of mine, and I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Excellent. Thank you, Sandy. And we'll come back to you a little bit more. Next up, I want to welcome Al Donto. Al is an entrepreneurship faculty member at the Jones School of Business at Rice University in Houston. So I'll turn it over to you, Al.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to pick up on the passion concept that Sandy was talking about. You know, Rice, obviously we're focused, you know, entrepreneurship and veterans. We support veterans here at the school, always have. And actually, in about 2014, I was talking to a group of veterans from the Veterans and Business Administration here. And we were talking about entrepreneurship, and we were talking about the military, and the commonalities, you know, between the military and entrepreneurship. And in the military, you know, you look at an objective, we're going to go after an objective, we have a plan, we have to go out there But as soon as we hit the ground, we've got to adapt, we've got to change, we've got to react, we've got to support, we've got to lead, we've got to move forward. So we talked about all that, and they wanted to do something to give back. And so we kind of came up with this idea of competition. Real quickly, it got named the Veterans Business Battle. We worked with a local organization here in Houston, the Entrepreneurs Organization, which was actually a part of an international organization of entrepreneurs, and they wanted to do something in the community. And we started running with the Veterans Business Battle. We really kind of copied a lot of what Brad Burke has done here with the Rice business plan competition. We said, let's just do this for veterans. And we're real early on. They said, hey, we want to support veterans and entrepreneurship as much as possible along the pathway. So if it's a connection to support resources to help with business plans, develop ideas, pitch for money, kind of whatever stage they were at, whatever milepost would help them and move them along, and do it along this theme of kind of a weekend here at Rice, highlighted around this pitch competition. So we moved forward. We connected real quickly with the SBA. SBA jumped on board, became a great sponsor, brought a lot to it. We had a lot of support in the community. The city got behind it, and we ran with this competition. And it just really started to snowball, gain speed. We had a lot of potential investors came out here real early on. The students said, hey, we want to make this, if the businesses deserve the support, they get the support. This is not going to be meant as kind of a nonprofit or just raising some money to go out there, but we want it to go to veterans that really deserve it, and they'll stand out in the way that they pitch in their history and everything. So we launched with the first competition, and it was pretty amazing. We had investors come out of the community. We had great veterans come down here and pitch. We got a lot of support from Syracuse University. Actually sent us a lot of competitors, a lot of good applications. The SBA sent it out to all their regional offices. It got distributed. We ended up with over 100 applicants for the first competition. We narrowed it down to 16. We invited everyone to come. We narrowed it down to 16 to pitch. They came down and pitched, and walked away with several $100,000 in investments. From there, it's just continued to grow. We just finished our 8th annual 2 weekends ago here at Rice, and in the last 8 years, we've had over $4.5 million in direct investments come from the competition here, from meeting and pitching here. The students raised money and now have a cash prizes that they give. They give cash prizes, an incredible number of connections to support resources, help along the way. A lot of successes. We actually have it as a class now here that we teach in the spring. So it's under our e-labs, our experiential labs, where students get to work with a real world application. So they actually review the applications. They learn the process and framework from some venture capitalists here in Houston. They teach them how to evaluate, screen early stage deals. They narrow it down from 120 down to about 30. And then those 30 are presented to our judges and our investors, and ultimately the final 16 are selected to come and pitch here at Rice. So that's an overview of the competition. We welcome any veterans that you have that come from MBA schools all over the country. Our applications come in, so we're here to send anybody our way for applications. They launch every fall on Veterans Day, and the competition is typically in April.
Awesome. Well, congrats, Al. That sounds like an amazing program. you're attracting veterans from all over the country, it sounds like.
All over the country, and investors from all over the country. So we've tapped into some veteran-focused early stage angel groups, some veteran-focused venture capitalist groups. And out of it, we actually formed here in Houston an investment group called Beachhead Investments. So their thesis is to invest in 100% military veterans, right? So there's actually a fund that they put together, and then there's also angel investments that come out of it as well. So
that's great. So I presume you already connect in with the consortium that Misty leads, and also the one that Sandy's a part of. Is that accurate?
I would say it is. Every year we just start reaching out and get the funnel going of leads to come in.
But which one of those two is the best one? No, I'm just kidding. So I'll ask a question of you, Al, and then I'll open it up. Actually, sure. This one I want to ask also of Misty and Sandy. So you're each part of a university that has an entrepreneurship program that serves other students or other populations. Mm-hmm. So how does your veterans program fit as compared to the other entrepreneurship programs at your university? Are there any challenges you run into or advantages of kind of being a part of another entrepreneurship program?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think you asked me to, Jen. I think we'd probably be a little bit different. We don't really have a separate veterans entrepreneurship program. It's put together now. It's almost the reverse here. Our Vet Biz Battle class is open to any student, so they can come in, and the objective of the class is to teach, what makes a good early stage investment, what makes a good early stage entrepreneur. So the students get to see it from the opposite side. They're reviewing the applications. They're looking at the pitches, right? They're selecting, right, which one should go on ultimately to where it's presented to the investors and judges that we have. So other students actually come into the class and help with that program.
Excellent. Misty, how does your program connect in with the rest of the Syracuse entrepreneurship ecosystem?
So we are completely separate, but we work with that. So we actually have our own building. We have the National Veteran Resource Building, which was just built actually during COVID. So we were in it for 2 weeks before it all shut down. We are across the street from the Whitman School of Management, though. So when I say that we've developed programs for the SBA, we've now developed 4 programs for the SBA. We have our other programs. So we work with our professors quite a bit that are at the Whitman School in terms of not only program delivery, but also curriculum development. That said, they have their Falcone Center that is student facing, and we have the Center of Excellence, or our center, that is completely veteran facing. So we actually don't even work necessarily with students directly unless they're student veterans that want to start businesses. That said, on staff here at the IVMF, we do have 40 Syracuse University students. So we have a lot of those here. I myself employ a couple student veterans as well. So we are completely separate. And just as a funding model too, we are not actually funded. We are supported by the university in terms of we can use their infrastructure and everything like that, but we are completely soft money funded.
Excellent. And Sandy, how about at Chattanooga? How does your program connect in with other parts of the university entrepreneurship system?
So similar to what Al was saying, we bring students in from any major, but especially the entrepreneurship majors. They already know how to pitch, and some of these veterans that come in have never done that before. They have no idea what they're doing. So the students will come in, they'll pitch, and then they'll coach them on how to prepare for their pitches at the end of the week, which is great. And they like to help out. We have a lot of volunteers. As you can imagine, this is having 20 to 25 veterans on campus for an entire week. There's a lot of logistics involved. So everyone really wants to be a part of this. They're very thankful for the veterans and for their service. And everyone kind of comes out of the woodwork and wants to volunteer. Like, hey, what can I do? Does someone need, they'll drive them somewhere. They'll bring in, like I said, snacks, or they'll just to be there, just to lend an ear. So everyone really wants to be a part of this and give back to the veterans.
It seems like each of you your job is kind of dedicated to this. Is that fair to say? Like you're you're focused on the Veterans Entrepreneurship Program. And so that seems like it might be a wise strategy if another school wanted to create a program, maybe have a person who really believes and is passionate about that mission and can lead that. Maybe you can leverage students and other resources at your school. Any thoughts or comments on that?
So, and I can address the question in the chat too on this. Absolutely. So I think that the biggest issue is that for us, everything has to be data driven. And we know that as you look at transition or anything else like that, that it's a complete, we say that entrepreneurship is actually a process and not just a snapshot in time. Transition and leaving the military and starting a business is also something that is a transition and not a spot in time. And while there are thousands of programs out there that help with that transition part, if you look at these unique needs, like we're asking about service disabled, right? That is an entire issue around VA claims. You have to understand what an SCVSOB is. You have to understand how starting a business can actually hurt your disability claim. And we actually hire consultants that come in and do that. But around that idea of should you be dedicated, if you're going to run an end-to-end program, you have to understand everything from transition, SBA, VA, CVE, WSOB, SCVSOB, all of those things together to be truly effective to help move these businesses forward. And I realize I threw out 100 more acronyms, but even more the reason that you have to have someone that just lives it, breathes it, is in it every day in order to make sure that you can connect them to the right resource in the least amount of time. And I think that that's why a dedicated person to really be that champion is a thing. And then also we just talked about, this is all free. So these folks are not paying to fly to Tennessee or to Texas A&M or to St. Joseph's University. Someone else is. So there's also that entire raise on that side as well, that you kind of have to understand the why and the efficacy behind the program.
That's excellent. I just put something in the chat where at Georgetown, we don't have a dedicated professional running a veterans program. We have partnered with a local business that was created by one of our Jesuits, which serves military veterans, specifically disabled veterans and their families. So that one has been interesting. Our faculty teach courses and work directly with those participants, but it hasn't been. It's a tangential part of our program, and we're hoping to expand on that. So here's a question. This has come up in the chat. And Missy, you commented on it a little bit. The idea of maybe the specific challenges that veterans might have when they're what's the right word? Service disabled or
Yep.
or just coming out of service, right? Like detaching. Right. And I've met so many veteran entrepreneurs. One famously told me, he said, I chose to be an entrepreneur after my military service because I never again wanted to report to anyone more incompetent than myself. And you hear a lot of other folks, many amazing entrepreneurs who say, they learn things in their service that has been directly impactful in being an entrepreneur. So you kind of hear different sides of it. What do you see? Are there common challenges? Are there things that veterans, what are the advantages that veterans might have over traditional entrepreneurship student versus the disadvantages?
So I posted earlier in the chat a link to our National Survey of Military Affiliated Entrepreneurs. This is the largest data set that exists for small businesses, specifically for veteran-owned small businesses, even more so than the census as we actually look at it. There are top challenges. So to be very frank, there are two populations that are very over-indexed when it comes to entrepreneurship: disabled and veteran. So then you put a service disabled veteran together and it's sort of the perfect storm. There's also via research that you can see in that NMSA link, that another acronym, that veterans do have several things that they learn in the military. Because if you think about it, when you're in the military, no one comes to you and says, I'm going to give you all the budget, people, and time you need to do this project. It's quite the opposite. So that entrepreneurial mindset is then what lends itself very nicely to starting a business. And that's what you see there. And the resiliency. The other thing I will say, veterans continue their life of service. So if you look at the top 5 reasons veterans start their own businesses, they say all the same things that civilians say until you get to number 5. And number 5 is they want to serve their communities. Civilians don't even rank that in terms of why they're starting a business. So I think it's very interesting in that regard. That said, there are unique challenges. Veterans have moved every 3 years usually. So when it comes to that social network, they don't have it, especially when it comes to business. Common myth, they're not educated. That's not true. Veterans are actually usually more educated than their civilian counterparts. So we look at our typical person that comes through a program is a 44-year-old E4, which anyone that knows that you don't get out as an E4 at 44 years old with a graduate degree. So those challenges are that social network, that human capital network, who they can hire. And then again, because you're moving every 3 years, your credit might be a little messy. So that being able to get capital ready can be your other top 3 challenge via the research there. But there's tons of organizations out there like ourselves, Griffin Hammis, et cetera, that can sit there and help you navigate all those resources as well as you move forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Misty. Any other questions? Feel free. I want to encourage our audience to keep putting questions in the chat. And Al or Sandy, do you have anything else you want to share, either based on what the conversation was just covering or anything else that you've seen here? Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up on what Misty said, and the veterans coming out, and you look at the thesis, right, from an investment standpoint, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, resiliency, leadership, working in kind of an uncertain environment, moving forward and everything. And another big one, that spirit, right? Just not wanting to let down, whoever it is, if it's their investors, if it's their employees, if it's their partners, and that, and tapping into that. There's a lot of resources out there, and tapping into those through the SBA, through like Bunker Labs, some of these accelerator programs and incubators that are out there. There's a lot of resources out there for them, and it can be from as simple as running a truck service, a delivery service, something like that you may have done, all the way up to some pretty really cool technologies that are out there and stuff like that. So there's a wide swath of opportunities that are out there for veterans, and I think a part of our job is just to open those doors and show them what's out there, right, what's available, and support them, right, every way.
Excellent. All right. So a question from Joe, you guys can see in the chat. Have you seen or implemented an icebreaker to encourage veterans to consider entrepreneurship? Is there a way that you found to help veterans think about entrepreneurship? Go ahead, Misty.
Okay, so 50% of veterans that are transitioning have said that they actually want to start a business. So the issue is not really thinking about, how do we get them to consider, because most are already considering. 68% have declared that at some point they would like to start a business, whether it's on transition or further along. But we know that at the point in transition, 50% want to. And so I think that the biggest idea is how do you break past that analysis paralysis around how do I take that first step forward? And for us, that's why we've created now online programming that's just very high level. What is entrepreneurship? What is opportunity recognition? And frankly, it gives you connection to 30 to 60 other veterans who are trying to think through the same things around what are the challenges, what are those resources, who can help me with my VA claim, etc. Our entire point around all of this is that I can sit there and say how long we've spent on curriculum and all of those things. And I think it's extremely important to have a very high touch and robust program, but more important is to have 30 other people in the room that have that shared experience. And I think that that's the most important part of any of these programs, is to get in those other veteran-owned businesses that have been there and done that, but also the other 29 other battle buddies, if you will, to be that cheerleader, that accountability partner in that network. Because as we mentioned, the top challenge is that social network. So if then you run a program that doesn't build in that social network component, you kind of shot yourself in the foot, so to speak. So I do think that when it comes to, encouraging people to think about it, not as much of the problem as it is, how do I then provide that network and that accountability that you can then kind of fold into? So you saw my 11 programs earlier. The reason that they're set up that way is, as you think about entrepreneurship, we have a program for that. Now I'm ready to launch. I have a program for that. And you can move through them sequentially. We've had people that have done Boots to Business, to Ignite, then to VWise, then to EBV, then at Edge, and now they're on the Vet 100. So we see it work, but you have to build in that network and that social accountability, because entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, but it doesn't have to be. There's so many entrepreneurs out there that are doing it. So you just got to get connected to them and get it going. I think that's the biggest challenge, is just having someone else that will help you kind of jump off the diving board, if you will.
Excellent. So you all mentioned, resources availability, or there's money maybe from the SBA through one of these consortia or other channels. But you also mentioned fundraising. Any experiences in fundraising that might be helpful to others, either something that went well, that worked, or something that did not work well, or just strategies that others might be able to learn from. And, Sandy, I'll let you go first if you want to on this one.
It just starts with getting the word out there. I mean, just start talking to people, tell them about the program. And again, I know I keep saying passion, but that really is a big part of it. If you can show them the value in it and how passionate your university, for example, is on this, and you just got to sell it. And we've never had a problem selling the program. It's usually comes down to how much do you want? Everyone really wants to help vets. I mean, we've been doing this, I know Misty said 14 years. We've been doing this for this will be year number 10. Would have been 11, but COVID kind of cut a year out for us. We couldn't do our boot camp in 2020. And I think Chad, OSU is it 12 years, 13 years? I know you got a little bit more. So we've never had a problem raising funds for this. They want to give back. And yeah, so I guess I don't really have a lot of to offer in that. Maybe Al or Misty have some ideas, but we've never had an issue going and saying, hey, there's this really great program. We do it all for free. It's for veterans. And they're just like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, I agree with Sandy. We have any trouble. And I think our main message is, look, if we can't help, we have an all volunteer army, right? And military. So all volunteer, went over, risked their life for our country, to serve, and now they're coming back. And if we can't support veterans around entrepreneurship, what can we support, right? At the end of the day. So we really haven't had any problem going out there to raise them. I know. Now it's a pretty clear mission, what it's about, what the money goes for, how it's used and everything. Because there's a lot of great veteran nonprofits out there raising money and everything. But when you cut it back and say, hey, look, we're going to give these veterans an opportunity to explore and to get into entrepreneurship. And this is where our support's going to and for. We haven't had any problem at all.
We have a pretty large raise. So to give you an idea, we have 100 staff members here at the IVMF and across the nation. We're actually in 36 different locations across the country and overseas. So it's a little bit different. I wouldn't say that there's problems, obviously, because we can support 100 staff members across the country and serve 25,000 a year, but data, I mean, to be quite frank, and I think that anyone that knows the IVMF at all knows that we are psychotic, and I use that not even lightly, like we are psychotic about data. I can tell you success rates, I can tell you top industries. More importantly, to also be very frank, there's been a sea of goodwill that's existed for entrepreneurs. It was really started by, frankly, JP Chase when they started the VJM over 10 years ago. Clearly, focus has changed in the past 2 years. And so I think you've seen a lot of VSOs that will start to shutter, and you will start to see a lot of VSOs that will have funding raises. We've mentioned a couple big names this year that I know have fallen off by 7 figures in terms of their fundraising. That said, I put something in the chat earlier, and it's very earnest. Veterans are more diverse than their civilian counterparts. So if you look at my programs, they go about 70% non-white in all of our programs and what we serve. And we have women-facing programs and underserved population programs, et cetera. And so I think as you sit there and go, how do I fundraise? For a program that runs a couple times a year, has $100,000 to $200,000 fundraise, it's not that hard. You're completely correct, because that can come together from local foundations. It can come together from the SBA. It can come together from a few other things. If you're looking at, $28 million raise, you're now looking at corporate social responsibility, typically is what you're looking at there. You're not going to get fully funded by the government. So if you look at my budget, I'm about 1/3 SBA. I got 2/3 of other stuff I got to raise. And so that's typically coming from corporations like JP Chase, Fiserv, Howard Schultz, actually, and that Starbucks is a very big supporter, Walmart, et cetera. But you have to make that case to their CSR teams that this is something worth investing. And that's a business case at that point. It's not a goodwill case. It is very much a, how many startups have you had? What are the revenues that you've created? How many jobs have you created? And it's not, did they replace their income? It's, did they hire someone else? And what do your diversity standards look like? And you have to track that. We were on a conversation with one of our financial institution backers the other day, and they straight up asked what our diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy is. So it's no longer I run a really great small business program. It's I run a really great small business program, but on top of that, I've considered all these other forces that you as a corporate sponsor are thinking about.
Awesome. All right. So a couple of times we've heard you guys name check Chad Mills from Oklahoma State. Chad, I'm going to call you out here. If you're willing, you want to make any comments, maybe just anything you've heard here that you want to add to, or just briefly describe kind of your relationship to this topic.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chad Mills. Over here at Oklahoma State University, I'm the director of the Rialto Center for Entrepreneurship and the OSU's Veterans Entrepreneurship Program here. Yeah,
So which one of these two networks are you a part of?
I mean, honestly, on levels both. Misty was actually my boss back in 2014 when I was getting my master's, and then she's moved on to bigger and better things and great things and whatnot. So we've stayed connected over the years through our programs and obviously through the SBA grant. And then Sandy is obviously part of the consortium along with Jamie Kraft and all of them from the University of Florida. So we're all very connected there, and we talk pretty regularly, I guess. You know, everything they said has been amazing and wonderful and true. You know, talking on the sponsorship and financial side of things, also, at least for Oklahoma State, we have an amazing support system with our foundation. We have 2 individuals directly tied with our foundation whose primary focus is the Veterans Entrepreneurship Program. So they are reaching out to alumni, and they are reaching out to organizations such as Cox Communications, BOA, and all these others who are actually been, Boeing recently is actually about ready to support our all-female cohort we're shooting for in 2024. It really is the passion, and it's having people who have the passion on other sides as well, who want to dive in and just get to know it. Our veterans also have an amazing turnaround of actually coming back and providing scholarships. Over the last 5 years, we probably raised over $30,000 from our participants alone, who the value that they gained from the program, they just said, we have to pay that back. We want to get more people in here. Operation Pay It Forward, if you're familiar, Mike Burns started that, and he hopefully wants to do it for all of the universities in our consortium coming up. Regarding students, you know, the Veterans Program is just a portion of what we do. We're a land-grant university, so it's one of our community focused programs, and it is the smallest thing of that what we do, but one of the most impactful things that we do. And we see that across campus. Our students, very much like Sandy was talking, they are such a big support system for the veterans going through the program, preparing for the competition, because they're doing it right now. You know, they're starting their businesses. So getting that from our own students who have the education side as well has just been very impactful for them. So yeah, I guess that's what I would say in the moment. But yeah, wonderful programs. So
the impromptu panelists. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate you jumping in without any warning there.
no,
So, you know, I guess I'll ask our panelists if you have any other comments and maybe a success story you can share about one of the veterans you've worked with or one of the companies they've created, just to give people a flavor of how this all can play out, but also any other kind of last words you want to share as we get close to the end here. And I'll let anybody that wants to go first can jump right in, or I can call on you. Sandy.
I'll kick it off, sure. So as far as success stories, one of our graduates, he started his own catering company, Sweet Mary Berry. His name is Barry Brock, and he's a former Marine, which, you know, I don't hold that against him. It's okay. Go Navy. And we actually use him for our program. So he caters lunches for our program. When we do our welcome reception, which we hold at our local National Medal of Honor Museum, we bring him in, and it exposes him to all of our donors. So we can go, hey, look, this is one of our graduates, and he makes delicious food. And so it helps him, it helps our program, and it's just the perfect combination. As far as things I did want to add, Chad doesn't even know this yet. So we are actually going to be launching VEP 2.0 next year. So we got a nice grant from a new sponsor. So we're going to offer 2.0 to our graduates who are ready for the next level. they've launched their business. They're doing great, but they need a little bit more support for that next level. So we're going to be launching that next year. And in 2024, Chad, I'll be reaching out to you on this. We are going to actually hold our first conference. So we've got some funding for that as well. And so we will include Oklahoma State and Florida in that. So surprise, Chad. There's going to be a lot of work involved in that, but we're really excited about these things that are coming down the pipeline to just make the program bigger and better. And that's something we try to do every single year.
Thanks, Sandy. Al, you have any, have one or more that you want to share?
Sure. Yeah, we've been fortunate to have a lot of success stories. You know, a couple really cool things. We had a couple of our early, I think first year participants that came through, went on, raised some capital, went forward. We had a couple exits, but the really rewarding things to see a lot of our contestants and participants that start out have come back now and are supporters. They're supporters. They've joined in as advisors and even as investors. So they've come back and joined some of the investors. So they've really gone full circle to see that coming around. And it's always great to see the students come back that were participated here as students in a class, and then they'll come back in year out and support competition, come out for the weekend and help out and do it, you know, whatever they can to support and help out.
Awesome. And Misty, I know you mentioned, you know, 25,000 a year. There's
yeah,
tons
no,
of
but we do.
stories,
I mean,
right?
we had, so like I said, we're in a brand new building and it's 115,000 square feet of greatness. But one of our grads actually started out with our program. He is he's a Marine too. He's a landscaping company. He underbid his first bid, had to sleep in the back of his landscaping truck as he went down to Boston to do that. He's now a $20 million a year company. He went through the program in 2011, and he actually laid the parade field that is on top of our building here. He landed on the Inc. 5000 this year as well. We actually now have 17 grads on this year's Vet 100 Inc. 5000 list. And we have one of our first VYs, our women's program grads, landed on it this year too. So that's an exciting thing to see. We also have another grad that actually dog tag and us share. So the dog tag program that you mentioned, her name's Erin Roth. She runs Miss Joe's Petite Sweets in DC. She just opened up her building or business in the PinFed lobby. So if any of you are in DC near the PinFed building, please go check her out. They're delicious and she's hysterical. So it's a great business there. But we've seen a lot of success over time. And I think that, you know, like what Al's program, that capital infusion, and that's why I got really excited when I heard that Sandy is also doing a capital infusion, is huge. We've seen companies that have gone through our acceleration challenge that $10,000 has paid their payroll and had stopped them from closing. And they're now $10 to $15 million companies just a couple years later. So I think that that's a huge, huge, huge opportunity for those companies. So really, really happy when I hear that other programs are able to do that for folks.
Awesome. Well, I've learned some things here. I really appreciate it. I want to ask our audience to join me in thanking Al and Sandy and Misty for sharing what you have done with your entrepreneurship program for veterans. I hope that some others are inspired to do similar work, because this is clearly a population that has great entrepreneurial potential, and it's certainly a meaningful group that we all would love to help if we can. So I'll just say I have loved working with the veterans that I've had a chance to do that with, and I hope my school can do more of this sort of work too. So thanks for your for sharing your information there. As we close out, I want to remind everyone or ask you to mark your calendars. We've got another Virtual Connections webinar coming up in the last Friday in June. We're going to skip May because there's a lot of graduation and Memorial Day type activities late in the month. But we'll be back together virtually in June, and then we may do other webinars between now and October, but definitely mark your calendar for the October GCEC conference. Thanks again to Misty, to Sandy, and to Al, and to everyone in our GCEC community. We look forward to seeing you somewhere in the near future. Take care.